Well, thank you. As always, it's really an honor to be part of anything that relates to honoring our veterans and our military, and so it's a great privilege for me to stand here today and do that on behalf of the University of North Carolina and the football program. When I met with Chancellor Roberts prior to as I came here and in that process of coming here and soon after I got here, we talked about a lot of things that involved supporting the student athletes and recognizing people who have contributed to this football program through the years and honoring them traditionally in many different ways. And so this is one of the things that we talked about, was honoring the people in our program who have served. And so I'm very proud to be part of the recognition that we're going to put up here in the football building of those people as we commemorate Veterans Day here today. So thanks to everyone who is joining us here and supporting us. Appreciate that. And this kind of goes back to a little before my time, but William Davey, who served in the Continental Army in the American Revolution and founded the school, was the first and one of the first to do so. So as this program dates back into 1888, certainly along the way we've had so many people in the program that have served for us. That again, it's very proud. I'm very proud to be part of that, and we have many military people here in the university program, 2 on our staff, Trent Baker and Mike Prefer, who have both served, and very proud to have them. So one thing I think is very important to point out is that this is a little bit of a work in progress. The names that we have listed on our wall is not complete. We're researching that. Lee Pace and Lisa with the Army ROTC and others have been very helpful in trying to find people who fit into this wall of recognition. And we've been notified by others as we've searched that this person belongs or that person belongs, and so we're trying to verify everything and make it a complete wall. So don't look up there and say, oh, so-and-so's not up there, because my dad is one of the people who isn't on there, but will be. So he served 4 years in the Navy and coached here. So at any rate, very proud to be a part of this. Very proud to continue to hear from people who we're at North Carolina in the football program that served our country, and recognize them, and that's something that we've spent time working with our players on this week, or actually last week. We've had people from the military, and again, we have a couple on our staff talk about what Veterans Day means, what the right thing to do is when you see or interact with a veteran, really at any time, but especially at this in this day of recognition, this time of recognition, and and obviously how important they are to our freedom, and they give us the opportunity to do what we do, which is coach football, play football, go to school, and we all know that if there was a conflict that our players would be amongst the first to go. So very, very appreciative of what our military does to defend our freedom. Thank all of you for actively helping us, and those who have served in the past.
All right, we'll move into the corridor here.
I forget anything?
No, you hit them all.
All right, okay, all right, awesome. All right, be right. Great. Well, certainly a very impressive win for Wake last weekend against Virginia. Statistically, Virginia had an edge in a lot of areas, but the 3 turnovers that Wake got and the return were some big game-changing plays, and I think it highlights the type of team that Jake has there. I think Jake's done a great job as he did at Washington State. He has several other people on his staff with him, but did a tremendous job out there, and He's got a lot of good football players. They're a very good football team. They're well coached. They're good in every area. They're good on special teams. They're good on defense, and they're good on offense. They have some very good skill players. Offensively, the running back Claiborne is outstanding. Barnes, Rodriguez. The receivers are explosive. Quarterbacks can run. They're averaging over 200 yards a game passing, so they can throw it too. Defensively, they're very disciplined. They're tough. They can rush the passer. They play the run well. They're very physical. A good tackling team. So, be a big challenge for us out there. Back in the state, so we know that intensity is going to be, high for this game as it should be, and look forward to it. So, good opportunity, but a lot of respect for the program and for Jake and the job that he's done there this year. They've really, it's been impressive.
We'll get started front row center.
Bill, what have you learned about these Tobacco Road rivalries and Big Four rivalries since being here and now starting them in this final stretch of Wake Forest?
I've been involved in a lot of them before, but I'd say the ones, regionally are just different. In Tobacco Road, we've certainly talked about that with people who have played in a lot of these games or coached in them or been around them, and so it's, historically we're catching up on it, but, we even saw it in the Charlotte game. That there's it's a little bit different when you play in state, and every high school kid wants to win a state championship, and so when you're playing at this level, it's important to win in the state, and we know it's going to be they're a good football team no matter where they're located, but we know it's an in-state game, and it's going to be tough, and it's their place, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of energy in the stadium.
Bill, you said I think after Stanford, the Wake defensive front is among the best that you're going to see this year. How important is it for the offensive line this week in practice to be able to go against your own defensive line based on the production that they've had? I know you talked a little bit about them struggling in a sense against some of the Tyler Thompson plays and Melkart.
Yeah, it's I think the way Wake plays is a little different than the way we play, so we'll try to simulate that the best that we can. But they move quite a bit, and they're the people that support from the secondary are very aggressive, and they just have a little different way of playing than the way we play. It's not good or bad. It's just a little bit different, and so that's what we'll have to try to simulate for our offense to be able to handle it. But they're a very physical team. They pursue well. They tackle well. They force fumbles. They turn the ball over. And again, it's just a physical team. The closer it gets to the goal line, the harder it is because they have more guys and less space, and they do a good job down there too.
Second row left here.
Aaron Beard to the AP. You guys have the most sacks in the country the last 4 weeks, so it's been a consistently a lot of output. Going back to your days as a coordinator, I'm curious, how would you describe the challenge of maybe bringing along guys, pass rushers, whether it's schematic, whether it's teaching them technique? That process of sort of building something like that over time, and how this group is sort of adapted to that.
Look, each player usually has his own strengths and weaknesses. Some guys are more power rushers, some guys are more speed rushers, and so forth. I kind of look at it like a pitcher. It's hard to win with just one pitch, even if it's a really good one. You can get to a certain point, but at some point you need something besides fastball. You need a curveball, you need a changeup, or you need something. And I think that's the way it is with pass rush too. If you only have one thing, and eventually they block that, and then you got to be able to go to something else. So developing individual pass rush techniques for each player is important. To have a good 2 or 3 pitches that you can throw, and then being able to collectively work together on pass rush to understand that for the most part it's 5-on-4, so they have an extra guy. So where's the extra blocker? How do we attack that? Which way is he going? How are they doing it? And if it's 5-on-5 with the offensive lineman, then how do you attack that differently than 5-on-4? And then when you start to pressure, then how does that fit into the pass protection as well? In terms of, are they protecting the 5, 6, or even 7? Towards the end of the game last week, we saw a lot of 7-man protection, or they were chipping and then getting out. So 7 guys would block, and then 5 would stay, and the other guys would release. Things like that. So there's some different protections that you have to work through, and understanding how they're trying to neutralize your pass rush, either individually or as a scheme. What we need to do to try to, how to attack what they're doing to neutralize what we had success with.
Hey, Coach, Wake Forest, the running back, Damon Claiborne. What do you like about his game, and
Everything.
what challenges does he bring to your team?
Everything. He's a really good runner. He's explosive. He's fast. He's got good vision. He sets up his blocks well. He runs hard. He's a hard guy to tackle. There isn't much to not like about him, really. Unless you're playing against him, then there's a lot not to like about him. But he's a problem. He can get inside. He can get outside. He can go the distance. But he can get tough yards too. He's a good contact runner. He's got good balance. I like him. I like him. I think he's a heck of a player, and I have a ton of respect for him. We know he's getting the ball. Everybody else knows he's getting the ball, and he still makes yards. He makes a lot of them. He's very tough to handle. He sees blocks well, and he runs hard. He's hard to tackle.
Right next to a coach.
Bill, what would you say your relationship is like with Coach Dickert? I know he was at Washington State last year when you were out at Washington with Steve. I wonder if you ever ran into him out there. And if
I wasn't out there for that game. I saw the game. It was a big win for Washington State. Winning the Apple Cup. They beat him in, I think it was in the Seattle Stadium, Seahawks Stadium. But they had a great year last year. And they have a good program. I met him at the ACC meeting, spent some time with him there. Really enjoyed it. A ton of respect for him. Defensive guy. I like them.
Front left. Adam.
Bill, wanted to sort of circle back on having for UNC the 3 rivalry games here to end the year, and I was wondering what your school thought might be for the regionalized rivalry games, which some people might say it's better to have them spread out throughout the course of the season, or do you feel like having them all here back to back to back is sort of the way it should be? I don't know, to end the season.
Yeah, not my decision. They schedule them, we play them. So if we play Friday night, if we play Saturday morning, if we play Saturday night, whatever the games are, if we play Monday night, we play Monday night. So who we play, when we play them, it's really out of my control. We just got to get ready to play. So I'm not going to worry about that. This week it's all about Wake Forest. We're going to put everything we have into this game, and then next week we'll move on to next week. It's the same thing we do every week. But we got to pour everything we have into Wake Forest. Again, they're a really good football team. It was a big win for them against Virginia. Virginia's a good team, so we know that. And we're excited for the challenge and the opportunity, but it's going to be tough. We know that.
Yeah, Bill, I wanted to ask you about Kamori House. Obviously, he came in, 1 year under his belt. Right now, he's leading you guys in tackles. Seems like he's one of the more vocal guys on the team as well. Just wanted, and he had the interception the other day. Wanted to ask you, what have you liked about his play to this point of the year, and then also like how have you noticed maybe him growing from a leadership perspective?
Kamari brings a lot to the program, both on and off the field. He's vocal, but in a good way. It's when you're the middle linebacker, you have to communicate things to the front, to the linebackers on your level, adjustments that you make, and sometimes the entire secondary in terms of the play call or an adjustment against certain formations and or no huddle and things like that. So those communication skills are really good. It's important to be decisive. It's important to be loud. But sometimes even if you don't call the right thing, as long as everybody's playing the same thing, you're okay. Might not be a perfect deal, but at least everybody's on the same page, and that's better than being half right and half wrong. So that's really good. Kamari loves football. He's very engaged. Ask questions. Ask good questions. Wants to improve. Wants to be better. Works hard. He's not the biggest guy, but he's explosive for his size. He plays bigger than the weight that he's at. He plays strong and plays explosive, and he can run well. So he's got a really good skill set. He's a good blitzer. He's a good tackler. He can cover a lot of ground. And he's a smart, instinctive player for not very much, he doesn't have a lot of experience. 2 years of playing, but he's played, a lot of football, but not as much as, guys who play 4 or 5 years. So, but he performs and acts and carries himself like he has played more than he really has. So he's a very mature kid. It's impressive.
Center, second row, right?
Yeah, bro.
Hey, how are you? I know when you got here, you said you're not coming here to leave, but as soon as the Giants job came open yesterday, your name got thrown out there. I'm sure it will with other NFL jobs. What is your message to players, to recruits? I'm sure people are asking you about that who want to come to the program.
Yeah, getting ready for Wake Forest. That's all I got this week.
Has anyone asked you, or the players or recruits want to know about your future?
I mean, I've been asked about it from time to time, but yeah, look, I've been down this road before. I'm focused on Wake Forest. That's it. And that's my commitment to this team. And next week it'll be to our next opponent and so forth. But, I'm here to do the best I can for this team.
Second row, far right, coach.
Bill, 9-10 weeks into this, you go back on the road this week. The emotional swings, and you talk about the intensity of these types of games. Is it comparable, that the in-game swings in college football compared to what happens in the pros?
It's a little bit different in college because of the timing. From a timing standpoint, it's a little more like the Super Bowl timing. The timeouts are long. The halftime is twice as long as what it is in the NFL. And the 2-minute warning with the clock stoppages on first down and things like that make that time frame long. The 2 minutes in the NFL is like, a minute in the NFL is like 2 minutes in college at the end of the half or end of the game. So those timing things are different, and it's more like that. It's a long halftime. You can get a lot done, but you also have to come back out, kind of re-warm up, get going again, because you've kind of been sitting for a while. And I'd say the timeouts, the clock stoppages between quarters and timeouts and so forth are long, and that just it takes away a little bit of momentum, gives you a little more time to talk to your team in between series and things like that. So those are the differences. They're not good or bad. I mean, everybody's got the same, it's the same thing, but that's what I've noticed.
Back far right.
I think a lot of people would maybe compare you and Dickert this week, given you guys are rivals, both first-year coaches. Just how much appreciation maybe do you have for what he's been able to do there, that they didn't have a lot of expectations this year, and they're having a great season, especially given that you've experienced this, trying to build a program here your first year?
Yeah, like I said, I have a lot of respect for him. I have a lot of respect for their program and the way their kids play. So, yeah, all the above.
And can I ask a quick injury follow-up, unrelated? How close is Thaddeus Dixon going to practice this week, and how close maybe he's to playing?
Yeah, so he's day to day. He's coming back. He's closer than he was today than he was yesterday. We'll go out there and see how it goes. But if you've ever had an injury, you go out there and you do what you can do, and if everything feels good, then you move ahead to the next step. And if it doesn't, then you step back and you give things a chance to settle down a little bit or whatever, and then you go back and do it again. So there's no way of knowing what's going to happen today, tomorrow, the next day, or 3 days from now. So we just take it day by day. And if things go good today, then we ramp up tomorrow. If things maybe need to settle down for a day, then we repeat today, tomorrow, and then look at it again the next day. So I really don't know the answer to that question. I'm not going to be able to answer any injury questions because they're just day to day. It just depends on how the player progresses, or how any individual progresses, whether you're a player or not, as to how much you can do, depends on how it goes. And that's, again, I've been in this a long time, and that's the reality of it. People say, well, this is going to take this long, this is going to take that long. It's pretty hard to be right on that. I'd say that those predictions are usually wrong one way or another. It's just impossible to say, oh, this guy's going to be ready in like however many days. How do you know that?
Front line. Coach, the defense has stepped up and played well. The offense still lacks some consistency. Have you been able to pinpoint an aspect of the offense or a reason for the offense and that lack of consistency?
Well, I think we need more consistency all the way across the board. I mean, defensively, offensively. Our defense has done a good job, but I mean, 2-minute drive at the end of the half, 2-minute drive at the end of the game last week. I mean, those could be better. So, I mean, there's room for improvement all the way across the board, and certainly offensively, we need to score more points in the first half. Let's start with that. That's number one. So we need to find a way to do that.
Left second row, Shelby.
Coach, I was curious, you said after the game on Saturday, kind of later in the press conference, that you felt like in retrospect could have done a better job looking at some of the players, putting them in a better position to be successful early in the season. I was just curious if you could maybe expand on that and provide some examples of maybe certain players that you feel like you've identified, certain combinations you identified later down the line that were particularly.
No, I mean, it's no specific examples. It's just the more you know about somebody, then the better you can evaluate them, the better you can utilize them in your program. So some skills were maybe not evident, or maybe they improved, or maybe they started and then didn't really improve, and that's kind of what they were. And you hope for that they're going to be better, and they kind of stayed there. You look at others and say, well, they're not very good, but you know what? In a certain number of practices and after time, they improve and get better, and then you reevaluate. So that's really what I was referring to, but that's pretty much across the board. You know, we know a lot more than we knew back in the spring. We know a lot more now than we knew in August or even September. And so as we've learned more about our players and our team and how they work together and what we can do and what we have a harder time doing, then, you know, we've tried to take steps to improve those things. In retrospect, if I had known then what I know now, I wouldn't have done some of the things I did, but I did what I thought was best at the time, and so that time's passed. I mean, you can't go back on it one way or the other, so just keep moving ahead. Thank you.
Bill, with it being Veterans Day and the unveiling of the wall, was there any story of one of these guys that really resonated with you throughout this process?
Well, I mean, Hamburger's a great story, you know. I mean, this guy's NFL Hall of Fame and served his country and, you know, had a great career here. I mean, that's, you know, and there are a lot of other ones too, but, you know, I have a lot of respect for those guys. You know, guys like Staubach, who had a great career in college, had a great career in the NFL, and served his country, you know, and the Phil McConkeys and many other players that I have a closer relationship with because they served in the military through the Naval Academy. But, you know, guys like that, I mean, it's, and you go back to, you know, some of the players that impacted the NFL after the war, but specifically to North Carolina, I mean, put Chris in there.
Yeah. I want to get back to the pass rush for 1 second about the sack. So with what you talked about bringing guys along, there's a process. I'm curious, was there a point when you kind of began to feel like some confidence maybe in the way you guys could rush the passer, maybe feeling like the guys understood schematically more of what you were asking for? I mean, was there a point that it began to feel more comfortable to you about what you guys could accomplish with that?
Look, let me just say that sacks are a function of team defense. And if the receivers are open and the quarterback throws the ball, I don't care how fast you get there, you're not going to get there. And so in order to sack the quarterback, you need to have enough pass coverage to not allow the quarterback to get rid of the ball before you get there on the rush. So sacks are a function of team defense. I'd say for every sack, you have a good coverage play. For most interceptions, unless the quarterback makes a mistake, you usually have a good pass rush that forces a bad throw or forces a hurried throw or disrupts the passing game in some way, right? And that's team defense. And so when your team defense is good, then all those things fall into place. You know, you have better pass rush, you have better pass coverage, well, then you have more negative plays. You have to be able to rush the passer in order to have good pass rush. I'm not saying that, but it's also combined with the rest of it. And it's you know, I think Steve's done a good job of mixing up the coverages where sometimes the quarterback has to, you know, be a little bit indecisive on where to go with the ball. And then that gives the pass rush a little bit more time to get there. So it's really about team defense, and it's the same thing in the running game. If we're playing the run well, it's because we got a lot of guys playing the run well. One guy can't stop the running game. One guy can't stop Claiborne. I mean, I don't care if you had Deacon Jones out there. Like, it's going to take more than that. So you need everybody to play well collectively and to fill their areas, to feed their blocks. Yeah, it's really about team defense. So I give credit to the pass rush, don't get me wrong, but I think it's really, you know, team defense. If you go back and look at those sacks, some of them are on a 3-man rush, some are on a 4-man rush, some are on a 5-man rush. A couple of them are, you know, we're bringing 6 or more. And so they're not all the same. They're not all the same thing. Some of them are play action passes, some of them are loose scramble plays, some of them are drop back passes. And again, it's it's a variety of things that happen on a lot of the plays that you're referencing. I just don't want to pin it on one thing. I really don't think that's what it is. It's collective team defense.
Two more here, Brian and Farley.
Yeah, Billy, you mentioned that you talked to Chancellor Roberts about the military wall and other things honoring the tradition of the program. Well, why was the military wall in particular so important, but also, you know, we saw the busts back there, you mentioned LT a lot of times. Like, why is talking about the history of the program important to you as well?
Well, because those are the people that made the program. You know, the program is here, it's established, it's got a tradition and history long before I got here. So I want to recognize those people that, again, like Lawrence Taylor and Peppers and Hamburger and so forth, you know, and Choo Choo and, you know, all the great players and people that have been here. I think they deserve to be recognized. I mean, I really do. So, and that's the same for the players. Just because a player signs here and comes in here, this program's here whether that guy comes here or not. This program's here whether I'm here or not. So it's about recognizing the program and showing appreciation to the people who, you know, built it. I won't say laid the foundation, like that's going back to like 1888 or whatever. But people who built the program, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, I think of the players that played here with Lawrence Taylor. I mean, that was a pretty good group. You know, in 1980, they gave up 120 points and 42 were against Oklahoma. I mean, that's one of the greatest defensive teams in college football. So, you know, I think they should be recognized.
And why was the wall so important, the military wall?
Well, we just had to find a way to do it. I mean, we talked about different ways to recognize the military. But look, when people come back here, I want them to feel that we appreciate their contributions and recognize them, whether it's in the military, whether it's their playing career, whether it's their academics, whether it's, you know, we have, again, various awards and recognition for what our student athletes do, not just on the football field, but academically or, you know, in the military or community service and so forth. I mean, it's just part of who we are, and that's what we're proud of. We're proud of football accomplishments, but there's other things too that, you know, should be recognized.
Last one, third row on the right.
Hey Bill, Michael Perchik, ABC 11. Can you share a bit about your dad's military service and the importance of having conversations with players so they're, I guess, better educated on the history of military conflicts and military service in this country?
Yeah, I've always talked about that, especially as the historic dates come through. I mean, like, you know, whether it's Pearl Harbor or, you know, D-Day or Veterans Day, Memorial Day, so forth. So my dad was, you know, he played for the Detroit Lions in 1941, and that was his rookie year. And, you know, Pearl Harbor, December 7th. So he enlisted in the Navy and went to Great Lakes, in the Great Lakes football program up there, and their training program. So when he got finished, he came in as a lieutenant, as an officer, not as an enlisted man. And so that was, you know, 2 years of training there, and then he went to served in Europe in the Navy. So they went over to Europe, and then after victory in Europe, then came back and ended up going to the Philippines for the end of the war in 45. And then when he came out, then that's when he started coaching at Hiram in Cleveland, then went to Vanderbilt in North Carolina and so forth. So, you know, at that time, I mean, I think honestly, that was World War II was the explosion of football. I mean, it was literally the explosion of it, because prior to that, everything was regional. Nobody in the East knew what the South was doing. Nobody in the South knew what's going on in the West with, you know, Pop Warner and people like that. And, you know, it was very regionalized. There was no film. There was no TV. There was no, you know, there was nothing. And once they got into the war, then all those teams came together, all those players came together. And so guys from every part of the country played together. They talked about, and the coaches too. And like Paul Brown was another one that served at Great Lakes. And, you know, Paul he talked about a lot of the ideas he got, and also saw players, you know, like Willis and Groza and guys like that who also served there. So they exchanged a lot of ideas. Hey, we're doing this drill, we're running this play, we're training like this, we're doing this, we're doing that, and then networking, and then that led to a lot of information exchange after the war, right? After everybody went back to where they were, and then, you know, people from the Ivy League would interact with people from the Southwest and the South and the West and the Midwest. And again, everything was very regionalized, though. You just played the people in your region. You saw the teams in your region. And that's really where the sports writers, people like Grantland Rice and guys like that who would see games from around the country, when they picked the All-American teams, they're the ones who saw everybody play. So they could see Army, they could see Notre Dame, they could see Alabama, they could see Texas, they could see Stanford, they could see, all the great teams around the country. They could do that. And their All-American teams were, if anybody else picked it, the only guys you're watching are the guys that are in that region that you observed. So from a playing standpoint, from a training standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, from a networking standpoint, once you got into the late 40s and the 50s, you saw, the T formation and the passing game expand, and players in the NFL and the higher quality there because, the good players were more easily recognizable because they were playing against other good players. And that's where the good teams was in the military in 44, 45, because all the good players were drafted in the military. They couldn't play. I mean, except the guys who were 4F. But all the healthy players that were juniors and seniors, they got drafted in. And so those are the best players. A lot of those guys went on to play in the NFL. And a lot of coaches like Paul Brown used that networking to, build a team like he did at the Browns, and also build a repertoire of plays that, hey, this guy runs this play, this guy runs that play, oh, they run this drill, they run that, there's a lot of exchange of ideas there. So World War II was an explosion for football, college and pro, in terms of ideas, networking, communication, and it becoming more of a national instead of a regional sport.
Thank you.
Okay. Great. All right. Thank you.
Good stuff.